Hi everybody, it's Annette from the Art of Intuition. Today we're going to talk about accountability versus blame. What is the difference between accountability and blame? Two very different energies, two very different emotions. And you can really tell when you're in blame, you can hear it when someone else is in blame energy. Why do we not want to be in those energies of blame? It is a very disempowered state. When we are in a blame state, it's a very disempowered state. And you feel disempowered when you're doing it. You sound disempowered when you're doing it. Even if the other person can't consciously pick up from the energetics of it, subconsciously you know it's a very disempowered state. You have no power when you're in blame energy. You're completely disconnected from your own accountability and your power of how the reality got constructed in the first place, why you keep reconstructing the reality. Now, having blame energy, even though it's a disempowered state, and it's probably one of our most disempowered states, is important when we're trying to clear it. So you're gonna go to situations where you know you got to clear blame energy, even though you know it's not true and there really isn't a blame. You realize you're the one doing it, but I still got to clear the energy. But you don't have to clear it at the person or clear it in a public forum. You can just sit down and just bitch about it yourself, because we do want to get the stuff out of our body. But a lot of people will start the blame energy and they get the impression they can shift anything in that energy. You can't shift anything when you're in blame energy. It's not possible to shift anything in that energy because it's such a disempowered state. You have no power there. So recognize when you're in it, recognize when you want to move it out, but don't get stuck in it. Because a lot of times you'll see people, or even you yourself, I've done it before, where you can kind of get stuck in it for a while until you burn off all the energy, you burn off all the emotion, but you can get stuck in it. But just know that you can't shift anything when you're there. Get it out of your body. Don't project it at anybody. Then you can shift the reality when you can start seeing the reasons why the whole reality occurred. Normally we can't see it when we're in it because we're too close to it. Emotions kind of clog those things for us. They blind us to what we're really trying to see, why we did it in the first place. Why do we keep creating the same scenarios? Why am I blaming this person? We normally can't blame anyone unless we gave our power away to that person. So we're really more mad at ourselves, but we blame another person for that. But you're not going to move anything out when you're in that energy. So when you see someone in that energy for a while, sometimes people just need to vent it and they want just to be heard. So you want to be mindful of that too. Like sometimes people just want to be heard. They want to bitch. And that's okay. If they're unconscious, and that's not a judgment, just a space. If they're unconscious in doing it, they need to just get it out. Even if you can see why the whole thing got created, they might not have the access to that yet. But eventually, it's important for us to try to shift the reality if we feel called to do that. Sometimes it might be someone you just see one time and they just need someone who they can vent at, and you never see them again. It doesn't matter. I mean, I was in the grocery store, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and it was one of those where you pack your own groceries, and a lady had packed her groceries and she packed too many in the bag. You could kind of see that, but we've all done that, pack too many things in the bag because we're in a rush, and the bag broke and all the stuff's all over the floor. So I asked her, hey, can I help? Because this is total mess all over the floor. And she just goes off. She starts blaming me because the bag broke. She starts blaming me because it's all over the floor. She's saying it's the bag's fault. They shouldn't be sold, blah, blah, blah. She just goes through this whole rant of blame, 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 blame. And, I don't even work here. And I said that. Eventually, I'm like, I don't work here. I was just going to help. But she needed someone to kind of sound off that blame. Even though, if she really looked at that reality, she could see why she created it. One is to clear some blame energy, which it's never just this one situation. We always attribute it to one person, one situation. We're clearing energy and emotions from all of our realities, Egyptian, galactic, Lemurian Atlantis, we clear them from everywhere. It's not just this one, but that's the one we grab onto because that's the one in our consciousness right now. So we think, okay, this is why I'm pissed right now, and I'm gonna blame everything I can blame, even this person in front of me I don't even know. It's not your fault. So it's just interesting because we've all done that too, where we kind of just get in that moment. And sometimes it's tests too. And I know I'm going through a phase where I'm getting tested a lot when things are going haywire. If I can hold my highest aspect when everything is even, coming down around me. In a sense, everyone's being rude, or you're just in the situation and you have to pay an exorbitant amount of money for something, and you're like, okay, but can you still hold the highest place? So when you're in these situations and you can feel the blame shifting to you just because you're in that space, you're also going to be a sounding board for that person. They'll get some of that blame energy out. Like for me, I don't take it, I don't really have a trigger with that in that situation. So I was probably the perfect person to do it. That's why I probably felt, well, let me go over there and help, because it didn't matter to me in that sense. Like, because you can see how the reality is playing out and how it's going to play out and why it had to play out that way. And usually it's easier to blame people we don't know because we don't have any attachment to the relationship. But it's really just also you're acting as a sounding board too. It's just funny how when we get in those situations, how we immediately want to blame. Plus you're embarrassed because all your stuff is on the floor, and you're trying to find a reason to say, okay, it's not me. This whole thing is somebody else's fault. But it's very disempowering. So I understand you might have to clear it. I understand you don't have to vent it at anybody unless you have a willing participant that will allow you to vent it to them. But you can always preface it as, hey, I got blame energy, I got to vent right now. I know it's a story, I know it's bullshit, but I need you to just get this out of my body, because you don't want to stuff it back in. If you feel a blame energy, let it out. We can be conscious about how we do it. Then move to a more accountable state, because that's when you can shift the realities. No one shifts anything in blame energy. You see this going on all over the collectives right now. A lot of blame energy is clearing, and they're clearing the energy, and at some point they'll get to a more empowered state to shift the realities. Right now you can't shift anything when you're in that energy. So just know it's a purpose to it. It's a purpose to getting it out, but there's no power there. There's no power in that energy. In that energetic state, with that emotion, there's no power there. So don't confuse that for a powerful state, because it's the most disempowered state you can have. Okay? Keep practicing the art of intuition.